Hey guys, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we'll be looking at the Void Exotic Trace Rifle Wavesplitter, and we're going to be using in conjunction with the exotic Titan armor Helm of Saint-14. Now the synergy between these two items is pretty good, but it is maximised by the fact that Ward of Dawn actually got an update, and it sort of powers up the Helm of Saint-14 as well. Now today's build is going to be more of a support based build. It's not going to be the highest output in terms of damage, but it will keep your team safe at all times. There'll be timestamps down below, so if you want to skip around, just do that, but otherwise, let's get into it. Alrighty guys, let's have a look at the weapon. So we've got Wavesplitter. It's a Void Trace Rifle, and from a surface level, doesn't look that interesting. We've got an intrinsic trait there of Harmonic Laser. Laser damage is 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. So sort of in terms of how the flow of damage is, it sort of fluctuates a bit. But the perk Supercharged Battery, which this has, collecting an orb of power grants a period of maximum power that starts with an automatic reload. Sustained fire in this mode suppresses targets. Now, suppressing a target is absolute key to this build because it gives us a lot of ability to work with our fragments and just the void ability in general. Alongside our artifact as well, we're getting a lot of uses from different areas purely just from this suppress ability. Now that we know what the weapon does, let's look at the armor as well. Helm of Saint-14. Now it had an update not too long ago, so we're going to go through it. There is a bit to go through because it is a fairly long description. Starless Knight. Weapons of Light persists after exiting Ward of Dawn. So as you're in Ward of Dawn, you get a boost to your weapons. While Weapons of Light is active, final blows or sustained damage grant stacks of the Saint. Void and kinetic damage sources also trigger a suppressing burst. So you'll be able to see as you're damaging a target, it will sort of flow outwards in this burst, similar to how kinetic tremors activates, but it will just keep firing out as long as you're applying direct damage to a target. Picking up Ward of Dawn consumes all stacks of the Saint and extends its duration based on how many stacks were consumed. Now, as you saw in the start there, we had 3 Ward of Dawn up at the same time. I know it's not like a real world setting, but it sort of gives you an idea of how quickly your super can come back. On top of that, you can actually pick up your Ward of Dawn a number of times. I believe it's 3 times all up, but you can have your initial Ward of Dawn up for quite a long amount of time. It is pretty insane how long you can sort of bunker down in one area for. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with the Ward of Dawn benefit is that when you set Ward of Dawn down, it suppresses everything in that area. So anything that comes inside is getting suppressed, which means overload champions get stunned immediately. So a really nice little benefit to have. Makes it a lot easier to deal with that type of champion. Alright guys, next of all I want to go through the artifact because I think there's a lot of synergy here that's going to work really nicely with our subclass. So the artifact we've chosen is the Tablet of Ruin, and we're using the artifact perks of Volatile Marksman, Elemental Siphon, Maligned Harvest, Harsh Refraction, Gold from Lead, Void Flux, and the big one in this build, Elemental Supercharger. Now just with Elemental Supercharger, from the wording alone, it doesn't seem to make sense because defeating exhausted or severed targets. Now suppressing isn't part of those two statuses. There's completely different statuses, but whenever I took Elemental Supercharger off, I was getting far less super energy back when I was defeating enemies. So I don't know whether there's maybe like something I'm missing. If anyone wants to elaborate, I'm more than happy to listen, but it was giving me a benefit of the super energy. So I don't know if something's happening in the background there. Certainly was helping though. Alright, let's have a look at the subclass now, guys. Now, we were using the Void Super, we're using Ward of Dawn, as I've mentioned numerous times now, but we're using the Shield Throw alongside the Magnetic Grenade, and that was purely because I just like this grenade. We've already got enough suppress there that we wouldn't use the suppressor. I don't really like the other ones. I like the Magnetic one because it sort of homes in on a target if you're close to missing. That's really the only reason for it. You can use whatever you want, guys. Now looking at the aspects, we've got Offensive Bulwark, which works amazingly with Ward of Dawn. You have an overshield while you're inside Ward of Dawn, your final blows grant grenade and melee energy, and you have increased melee range. So your final blows restore a portion of your overshield as well, so whilst you're in there, getting kills, taking damage, you're always just healing yourself constantly. The only thing that I found took me out was, as you can see in the background, we've got some minus 50 content. I got jumped on by like 4 or 5 Screebs and absolutely obliterated me. So it didn't help me there. Outside of that, you're pretty much unkillable. Now, Controlled Demolition, bit of a staple with Titan Void builds, but hitting a target with a Void ability, so your grenade or your melee, or a volatile explosion for that matter, makes them volatile. So it's just spreading that explosive debuff to enemies, just makes them easier to pop, and yeah, look, grants you and your nearby allies health when volatile targets explode near you. Alright, let's have a look at our fragments now. Now we've got 4 very strong candidates. So first of all is Echo of Domineering. After suppressing a target, you gain increased weapon stat, and your equipped weapon is reloaded. Defeating suppressed targets creates a void breach, so a lot of things happening there. Where our Wavesplitter is going to reload on kill from a suppressed target, and we're going to get a void breach as well. Now we get a nice little bump to our grenade stat, so this is a very vital fragment and does a lot for us. The second one we're going to have is Echo of Harvest. Defeating a weakened target creates an orb of power and a void breach. Now, probably looking at this and thinking, well, there's not a lot of ways we can weaken a target. Guys, Ward of Dawn, anything that steps in, not only will it suppress, but it also weakens your target as well. Echo of Starvation. Picking up a void breach or an orb of power grants you Devour, so that gives you increased grenade regen, plus it will give you health on kill as well, so a really nice effect to have. The last one is Echo of Cessation. Finish of final blows create a burst of void damage, and it will cause nearby combatants to become volatile. Defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. Now, we won't be using a lot of finishes. I was finding that during this Grandmaster stuff in the background, the -50, I was using finishes a lot, but anything outside of that, you're probably only going to use it if you really, annoyed at an enemy or you really just want to set a point. But otherwise, you won't really use this a lot, but I did find it was probably the better one to use out of all of them. Now, I did just want to address the other 2 weapons we're using with the build. Now, this isn't set in stone. You can choose any type of weapon that you want to use. I'm using Wavesplitter as the main, but you can choose your own supporting weapons, so I'll be really interested to see what you guys pair this up with. But I've got the Chivalric Fire Sword and the Mountaintop. So I've got a grenade launcher and a sword. So I'm using Chivalric Fire because it is a caster frame. Now, I haven't used the caster frame in a long time, but I find it to be really helpful. You can actually stun those barrier champions from afar. It does quite a bit of damage, and it has a damage over time effect as well. So really good roll. The damage applied by this weapon gives you a bit of an overshield as well. So just another way to survive a little bit longer in battle. Now let's look at our armor mods and armor set. We'll start with the helm. Now we're going to look at the mods here for this one. We're going to run 3 of Harmonic Siphon. So on rapid void kills, we're going to get an orb of power dropping. Going to be happening a lot with that benefit, so that's pretty bit of a no-brainer there. We don't really need super font because we're running, as you can see, a very high super by itself, alongside slotting +10 into most of our armor set. Alright, and up next we've got our arms, so we'll have a look at the mods there. We've got Shield Break Charge, which gives us an armor charge every time we destroy a matched shield, so a Void Shield. We've got a Void Loader and a Void Handling mod, so just so I can switch between our 2 Void weapons. We're not too worried about our kinetic slot, more just to get the damage out where we need it on the 2 main weapons. Now, I have gone without melee or grenade fonts, and this is more just because in Ward of Dawn you do get a really decent amount of ability regeneration happening, so that's why I've avoided that and gone more for just a weapon-based approach. Now, moving on to the chest plate, we've got a triple harmonic ammo generation mod. Now, if you do need resistance mods for certain activities, certainly swap out 1 or 2. You will get a decent amount of ammo gen with these weapons anyway, but it's just there, just so we've got enough and we don't run out. Onto the legs now, and we've got 2 Void Weapon Surge with 1 Void Scavenger, just so I can get a little bit more oomph out of our Void Weapons and get a little bit more ammo from the bricks that are dropping on the ground. Having a little bit more ammo reserves is always good, just because you've got an abundance on the ground, and having a slight boost in the Void Weapon damage overall, well, that's good for everyone. Last item to look at is the Mark, and we've got Time Dilation, we've got Reaper, and then we've got a Void Overshield on Finisher. So all working very nicely. Time Dilation, so we've got enough armor charge reoccurring for our Void Weapon Surge. Reaper, because every now and then we will beat our barrier down, and then immediately getting an orb of power after a kill, very easy to generate. And alongside that, when you get a finisher, you're getting a Void Overshield. Void class, it just works in tandem. Now the last thing to look at is just our stats overall and our armor set. Now we're using the U technology set again, basically rapidly defeating combatants with Void Energy spawns of Void Breach, which works in tandem with our fragments. A lot of rapid kills required to activate, so this is one more thing. And then after collecting a void breach, you'll trigger a detonation. So the quicker that you apply that detonation, the bigger it's going to be after you pick up the void breach. Alrighty, and the armor set stats that we've got is a health of 35, melee 36, grenade 40, super is close enough to maxed out, 195, hope of 200, class very little, but again our void breaches will give us class ability back each time we pick one up. There's going to be a ton of those around, and our weapons is about 140. You can probably tack on the weapons mod font if you want another 20 points, just get up there, but I think 140, 150 would be more than enough. Alrighty guys, well that's going to be the build for today, so thanks very much for watching. Look, it is more of a support based build. It's a role that I prefer. I don't really like being the big damage dealer. I prefer to help people out, so you know, for those that sort of want to take that role, I hope you enjoy it. I did just want to say guys, we've blasted past 1,000 subscribers, and that was probably because we had a lot of people come over from Mactic's channel, so we got a little feature over there, so that was really nice. A lot of people coming over to say hi, so I really appreciate that. Thanks for saying hi everyone, and just dropping a like or a comment meant a lot. Yeah, look, here's to just keeping on going, really enjoying things. I think we're getting some good reception. There's obviously a lot of things we can improve on as well, but for the most part I think we're doing some good. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it guys, and I'll see you in the next one.